Hey guys, today I'm gonna be working in the shop on the Eastonmade 60C, doing those repairs and that maintenance work that I've been talking about doing. Finally got it in here yesterday afternoon before I had to head out for the day. Didn't have any time to really get anything done, but I'm gonna start over here. So I need to go grab a bolt. I think this will probably be the only part that I'm gonna need. I need to move this firewood basket out of my way here, get a little bit more room, but I'm gonna go ahead and start by just strap this up over there just with a ratchet strap just to hold this up so it doesn't fall on me, and then just take that loose and take this all apart and get that out of there. That's just, I mean, it's just a pin essentially that's in here. So I'll be taking this loose from, I mean, once I take all this stuff out, that'll just slide right out from that cylinder right there. And you'll be able to see a little bit more about what I'm talking about once I get all this junk off of it here, because I'm going to take this with me and go grab something from the hardware store down the road, and that way that should be the only thing I need to bring with me. I got to run out and give a couple landscape estimates anyway, so I might as well get this off and take that with me while I'm going, and then the rest of the repairs should be just simple stuff that I don't think I'm going to need anything special that I don't have here that I can think of. So yeah, we should be good on that. I'm going to just get you guys set up so y'all can see me take this thing apart real quick. I'm going to get it fastened up so that I'll be able to do it without hurting myself. See what I'm talking about there, how that just slides right out. So, you know, for a little bit there, it was holding itself in. I operated it a long time with this thing broke. Like I say, the initial repair that I tried to make was just drilling a hole in the end of this and then getting enough weld in there, but I just wasn't able to get far enough in and get good enough penetration to get enough heat on the end of the pin. I didn't drill that big of a hole, but I mean, I'm drilling through thick steel, so I mean, I think I had maybe a 5/8 bit that I drilled through right here, and that held for a little bit of time, but not for too long. So my thoughts are now I'm going to be cutting this off. This is just essentially like just a circular, probably 3/8 thick piece of steel that was welded onto this this stud that comes out right here. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cutting this off flush right here, and then that should leave me with a hole that goes all the way through, and I'll be getting a bolt that matches the diameter of this pin, and then it'll of course have threads on this side right here. I'll weld the bolt head on right here in place of this, and it'll have threads, and I'll just thread a nut on there, and I'll either tack the nut on so that it can't back off, or put a pin through it or something like that, because I know I can't sandwich this tight with a nut and expect this to pivot well. You know, the pivot point, you know, is greasable, and you want that to be able to pivot inside the cylinder there good without, you know, causing friction on this end or this end. So, but yeah, I think that'll be a pretty easy, simple repair. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get this taken off, get that pin pulled out, and that way I can go ahead and get the bolt that matches while I'm out running around. So normally when you take that out of there, this will just fall, but I went ahead and, you know, this is that strap that I just put on there, so this will just hold this in position for me while I'm doing this repair. And then I'll probably end up letting that down while I'm cutting this off. I mean, I don't know, I may try to cut it with it in position right here, but this, you know, as it pivots down, it'll kind of clear and give me a little bit more room in there to get this cut off. I'll either try to cut this off with a bandsaw or a cut-off wheel, whichever one works. I think I might be able to get my little porter band in there and cut all the way through it. That's just a cleaner, a safer, easier way to cut things if you can. Anytime I can reach something with my porter band versus a cut-off wheel, I'll definitely go that route. It's just a little bit easier, smoother cut. It's one tool if y'all do any kind of metal work, and if you guys don't have a portable bandsaw, I mean, it's a handy thing to have, that's for sure. So use it all the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, I use an angle grinder all the time as well. Just depends on the application, what you got to have, you know, what space you have to work with and what you're doing. But I like to use that port band when I can, for sure. And that guy just slides right out. So that's what I'm going to be replacing with a bolt, and that's probably 1 inch diameter if I had to guess. We'll take a tape to it. I'll get it cleaned off so I can carry it with me without making too much of a mess. And like I say, this was just originally, this was one piece with that, came through there, was welded on right here, and then this is just, it's drilled and tapped on this end, so that bolt goes into it, and that's all there was to it. But I think what I'm going to replace it with will work just fine. So all right, so I got back from Tractor Supply, and this is what I wound up with. They've got, and it's a good fit, it's a 1 inch, I think it's 5-inch bolt. I'm not going to need all the length of it, but I did want a good bit of smooth shank on the bolt here. Not a lot of threads, and the 4-inch bolt would have worked, but it was solid threads the whole way. So my intent, I'm going to cut this off right here, put the bolt through, weld the head of the bolt. I'll get you a little bit closer here. We'll weld the head of the bolt right there, so that stud will be sticking out, and it's a good tight fit in the cylinder, the end of the cylinder here, so it's going to work out well. And then I'm just going to put, I got a washer and a nut, and I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough room because these hydraulic hoses here, I don't want it to damage these, so I may end up, you know, just cutting the nut off a little bit smaller, but I am going to use that washer just to give me, you know, a space between the cylinder and that nut to for it to pivot on easily. I think I'm going to definitely use that. I mean, we'll see as we get going, but just wanted to, you know, show you all what I got to use, and I think it's going to work well. I mean, this is the original stud, and of course it was, you know, then welded right here on the end, so that's an extension of that end. And let me just show you kind of in relation to what I got. So basically, if this was right here, that's kind of how that's going to go. So I'll probably end up cutting a good bit of this bolt off, and then I'll have the nut just in position like right there. It should work out well, and then I'll probably put a pin through the nut or something like that, or yeah, that's probably what I'll do. I don't think I'm going to weld it on there, because I want to be able to remove it if we ever have an issue with the cylinder or whatever the circumstances. So we'll get going on that here. First thing I'll do is get that cut off there. So, all right, guys, so I went ahead and grabbed my bandsaw. I do remember now, last time I was using this, it's got a blade that's got some bad spots in it. So, and it's a Harbor Freight blade. These things just don't seem to last like the Milwaukee ones do. But I'm going to give it a go, see if I can get this cut off with the bandsaw. It is the preferred tool to use. It's what I would definitely like to use for this, but if I have to, I got, you know, an angle grinder with cutoff wheel, and I mean, I've got an electric one over there if I need to swap if the battery dies on me or something like that. But we'll give it a go with this blade. It's the only blade I have here in the shop with me, of course. I should have got one while I was out grabbing that bolt, but I just didn't realize I was out. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a go, see if we can get this cut off here, and go from there. All right, guys, well, I got interrupted there, had a phone call, and one of my guys was coming back to get a little bit of material, had to get him loaded out, and a customer as well showed up. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and swing this thing down so this clears right here so that I can cut it with the bandsaw, hopefully. And hopefully I don't hurt myself doing it. That doesn't seem to help. Go back up with it. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it right there. Probably just do most of my cut with an angle grinder. Just don't see, you know, that's the thing with these bandsaws. I mean, they're great when you have good access, which this might work. I'll make some of the cut with this and finish it off with an angle grinder more than likely, but lowering it down, it was just gonna get to be hard to get to, so I don't think it was worth moving it. So think that's about as far as I'm gonna be able to get with the bandsaw there, so I may try to just pry that out with a screwdriver real quick and see if that gets me a little gap. Then I can get the finish out with an angle grinder real quick. Definitely use a cheap screwdriver to do this. This is just a piece of junk, just trying to get a little gap there. But I think I'll just go ahead and finish it out with the angle grinder, and then hopefully we'll be able to, we'll just grind it flat after that, make sure it's good and smooth on this side and give me a good surface to weld to. Well, this is this is a first for me. Never had a cutting disc fall apart like that. So we'll go swap cutting discs and finish this thing off. Let me show y'all what I'm talking about. The center broke out of the cutting wheel there. I've never had that happen. This is, I think this was a factory that came on. Yeah, it says Makita on it. This came on the cutting wheel. This is a new one that we bought. We needed one on a job just the other day and just had to go out and buy this. We've got several at the shop here, but just didn't have it on the job site. But anyways, swap cutting wheel, we'll get it cut. It's just tough access right here, so that's why I'm just gonna break it from here. I think it should break loose. There we go. All right, so now I'm just gonna swap to a flat disc and get this area smoothed up right here. You can see right now, I've still got a little bit of weld in the hole right there, so I got to weld or take a little bit of this out, and then I'll go ahead and smooth this up and stuff as well while I'm at it. That way I can get good weld, and then right now I don't think my bolt would even quite fit through just because there's a little bit right there on that edge. I know you can't really see it. You might be able to see it right there, but I'll swap to a flat disc and get that cleaned up a little bit. And here's what came off. Definitely not a perfect cut, but originally I was cutting a little bit into the steel there, so I'm gonna weld that back. Just put a little bit of weld into there where I was cutting into it with the angle grinder. I was going at a little bit of an angle, and that was part of what took me a little bit longer than it should have as well. So I wasn't just cutting through the part that I was wanting to fall off. Hoping this flat disc fits in there decently well. I really am probably going to need to fold this almost all the way down. It's just when you do that, then you have this in your way and you got to crawl up under there, and it's not ideal. So I'm trying to keep it upright. I'm going to have to fold it down. All right, so yeah, now from this angle I should be able to access it. It's just not ideal. All right, so the bolt's fitting through, and it should be. Another thing I want to look at, make sure I've got enough clearance here, but yeah, looks like there's plenty of clearance. I'll show you what I'm talking about. There's plenty of clearance right here for that bolt head, so if I weld that on right there, we should be good. Then the cylinder will go right here, and then we'll probably end up having to cut that bolt off a little bit shorter, but it's not looking like it's too bad. I mean, if I just cut that off a little bit, we'll probably be okay. So let me try to get the cylinder reattached. Might be tough to get that reattached by myself, but I'll give it a go. All right, all I was doing just then was just taking the finish off of this bolt, just so I have a good surface to weld to. I think what I'm gonna end up having to do is just loosen up the cylinder down on the bottom side there, so then I can slide it out, because I have to put the bolt in with it in this position so that the bolt can clear. so that the bolt can clear. This right here is what I'm talking about. This is fixed. This part moves, so I have to be able to put the bolt in, so I got to have it in this position to do that. And then I think what I'm gonna have to do is just loosen the cylinder out so I can get it over the end of the bolt here. I may just go ahead and cut the bolt off a little bit to help me get it slid over that, because it doesn't have enough flex to get out that far. So we'll go ahead and take it over to the vise and get this bolt cut off a little bit. Get the portaband over here and we'll get it cut a little bit shorter. I'm actually going to cut it a little bit longer than that, I think. I want to give myself plenty of room to put a nut on it and throw a washer in there. I don't know if you guys heard previously when I was using the bandsaw, it's definitely got a bad blade on it. It's skipping a little bit. It's got a section of the blade that's just no good, so you'll hear that right here as well. Like if it was cutting good, it'd be halfway through by now. And just smooth them all up. Let me see. That blade's done. I'll get the cutting wheel out. All right, we got it all cut off. We'll go ahead and try to get this cylinder put on. I go ahead and got a wrench and a socket, and I'm gonna get that cylinder loose on the bottom end so that we can get it all slid together, because I just want to weld it on with it up, all the way up. I think that'll be the easiest thing for me. So all right guys, so I went ahead and just took this off the end of that stud that's going in there. Same concept as what broke up here, and it's just threaded on that end to hold that cylinder in. So I went ahead and took that off just to give me a little bit of play up here to get all this put back together. So I do have to lift it up, crank the machine up, collapse the cylinder so that I can move this out to get that on. So try that. Hopefully that helps. All right guys, well I think that's gonna work. And honestly, I feel like this has enough room here. It's not touching it, and it still needs to be tightened a little bit. Yeah, I think we're gonna be okay there. I kind of like that it's cut a little bit short of the bolt, the end of the bolt there, so that the protection is right here on these rounded edges for this hose. I think it's gonna be okay though, just like it is. It never really moves left and right there, so it shouldn't touch that. I still got to put that bolt back in down there, and then I think I'll go ahead and I want to make sure this is good and flush, so I'm going to tighten this with a wrench first before I weld this, and then I'll just loosen this back off. I think that's my plan. So just kind of making it up as I go, but I think this will be a good permanent fix. Or I mean, you know, it's everything, nothing's permanent, but anything can break. But this should be a good solution that should last pretty, you know, for a while. So one thing I have found out, you got to have some pretty good sized wrenches to work on this thing. So we've of course had these a while, but it is something you definitely need in order to, you know, have a piece of equipment of this size. I think on the camera it really doesn't do it justice how big everything is, and you know, I don't know what size that is. It's probably the same, maybe what I'm using. This is 1 7/16 inches. Yeah, same size there, same size right here. So I really need to tighten these up too. These get a little bit loose over time. It does have a good steel lock nut on there, so it's not like they fall off, and they need to be a little bit loose to have a little bit of play for that pivot point. But I'm gonna probably tighten those up a little bit while I'm in here. But I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead and weld that where it sits, and then I'll loosen this back off because obviously this needs to be able to pivot in here. So don't want that to be super tight and not be able to move. So I've already got a spot right here that I can ground to from previously welding on this. We'll go ahead and put that bolt back on here before I forget. So the next step before we go ahead and get welding, I always disconnect the battery. That's something that they recommend, you know, Eastonmade recommends doing, and they also want you to disconnect the power supply to the main computer inside the cab. So I'll show y'all what to do there. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the battery first, and then we'll get in the cab, and it's just a little you know, wire connector that's got, you know, I don't know, a bunch of wires going into it, and it's just a little twist lock. Yeah, it's just right here on the, you know, here's the, you know, the whole brains of the operation here. That's all it is. You just turn that loose and then it just comes loose. Getting it back in is not always that simple, so getting it lined up, but it's not bad. So that's all they ask you to do, and then you're ready to weld on the machine. So I'm gonna go ahead and get whatever welding done I need to. While that's disconnected, I'll weld this up, and then I'll also just get a power pack on that, on the outfeed conveyor, get that welding done, and then I'm gonna think if there's anything else to weld, but I don't think that there is right now. At the moment, I can't think of anything, so I think it's just gonna be these two things. I was gonna weld it with it up, but I think I'll weld it right here. I mean, honestly, it doesn't need to be solid welded all the way around. I'm probably just gonna hit it on a, you know, I'll get it here and then up here and just probably right there, and just skip that back side there, just because that'd be hard to access. And I don't think it's necessary to have it, you know, it's not really even trying to come out, so I think it'll be fine just like that. Otherwise, I need to hook the machine back up and lift it up, but I don't even, that's not even going to make it any easier. It's probably going to make it harder to get to, so I'll make do with what I can get to right here. Guys, I think that's going to be plenty of weld for what I need to do. I already looked at approaching it from this angle, and it's going to be tough. I'll give it a shot, but I don't think it's going to be anything I'll be able to get on camera, that's for sure. All right, so for now the welding is done on that. Like I say, I may end up folding it down after I'm done with the other welding. Once I hook it back up to the processor, I'll put this eject door down and see if it's a little bit more accessible at that point. I'm gonna go ahead now that welding's done for now, I'm gonna go ahead and loosen this back up. I think what I'm gonna end up doing is just drilling a hole straight through it and then just putting a little cotter pin in it to hold it in position, because I want to be able to remove it if I need to, but I don't want it to be able to back off, and you can't leave it tight or it won't work. So it has to just essentially be loose. I don't know if I have a long enough cotter pin. I'm gonna need something pretty long. This is a heavy cotter pin, but I don't have a great selection over there right now. Well, yeah, this is the best I've got. I mean, it'll just barely make it through there. I'm gonna go and drill the hole, but I'm gonna get a longer cotter pin eventually before I get running any more firewood. But for now, I'll at least get the hole drilled and this one run through. So. All right, well, that's what it'll look like. I just need to get a longer cotter pin, so I got a little bit of room to bend it around here. But that should do it. I mean, that's gonna keep that nut from spinning off for sure. I think that's gonna work good. I think that should be all we need to do right there. And it's getting a little bit late this evening, so I'm probably just gonna wrap this one up and head to the house, but we'll get going on this thing again tomorrow and get some different repairs done. And definitely I think the next project's gonna be, well, I've got this battery disconnected. I'm gonna go ahead and put this paddle back on the conveyor, and it's broken up under here. So I'll spin that, I'll reverse this conveyor till that paddle's right in this area. That way I've got good access. I even like to get weld on the underside right here. So I kind of rotate it right in this area to be able to do that. And then I know I've got to kind of tweak this back down and reinforce. I think I just need to put a few welds right here, and that should take care of that issue. I may go ahead and lengthen these legs so that I don't need to put any blocks of wood under it as well while I'm out here. So, but those projects will wait till tomorrow. I think I'm gonna wrap it up for today. And I appreciate you guys watching. We'll catch you on the next one.